It's February 1982 and two boys of the same age living in the small city of Hama are enduring the same harsh controls under Hafez al-Assad's military regime in Syria.
Even as kids, we saw how the soldiers were so brutal and they never hesitate to do whatever they want.
They were trying to arrest my grandfather, but he wasn't there, so they took one of my uncles instead of him. Then they took my father away. They shot them dead and left them on the street. That street was the main street that my father used to go every day to his work. And in the morning, when people were going, they immediately recognized my father.
Now to the Middle East. And reliable reports reaching us tonight suggest that Syrian rebels have staged a major uprising against the government of President Assad. While there is no word from Syria itself, State Department officials in Washington have spoken of an unusual intensity of violence in the uprising.
Hama, 190 miles north of Damascus, had become a centre for the Muslim Brotherhood, which wanted to establish a more religious society in Syria and had been attacking the regime with car bombs and assassinations of government officials. After the uprising, the BBC's Liz Donnelly spoke to people who had been in Hama.
The uprising in Hama last February was certainly not the first one, but people who talked to me claimed that never before had one led to such devastation and to so many deaths. One American who spends a great deal of time in Syria told me it all began on the night of Tuesday the 2nd of February.
The Muslim Brotherhood had a large arms supply or a large arms stores. The government forces received a tip that these things existed, and they went to capture them. When they surrounded this building or house, they found themselves surrounded and got into a firefight with the Brotherhood, and they were killed. The Brotherhood then raided the military installation outside of Hama. For about the first 4 days of the confrontation, from what I've heard, the people controlled the city. After about 4 days, the army was losing the battle and losing it badly. Now, the government called in their special forces, and my sources said they pulled 2,000 troops out of Lebanon to help quell this rebellion.
I was an 8-year-old child. I'm one of 8 children, 4 girls, 4 boys. I was 2 older sisters and 1 older brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the 4th, yeah.
Right, so you were in the middle.
Indeed, yeah.
Now grown up and living in exile, this man's father, before his death, encouraged him to study hard at school. Another Hama resident, also living in exile, remembers the tense atmosphere between government troops and locals.
It became part of our life to see soldiers, to hear the sound of weapons all the time, to be cautious and not to criticize the president or the party.
Neither men wanted to give their names for fear of reprisal from Syrian authorities.
I remember my uncle's house was next to our door, and my father one day arranged for all his books, because he was a scholar, to be taken away, and they were buried in the field in my grandfather's land. They used to come also and do door-to-door searching for any publications related, religious publications or stuff like that.
One day he sent young women to take the headscarf and to make women take off their headscarves in a very conservative city.
To appear too religious was dangerous under the secular Assad regime.
Women wearing headscarf means that they are against the regime. But even to tell the truth, rarely to see a woman in Hama at that time not wearing headscarf.
What was the relationship between the ordinary citizens of Hama and the Muslim Brotherhood?
They were ordinary citizens, definitely. Some of my relatives, for example, are Muslim Brotherhood, especially at that time. The city supported Muslim Brotherhood, that's true, because it became like the regime, and they made Hama like the target because it's a religious city. To be honest, I have relatives who were never Muslim Brotherhood, but during what happened in 1982, they decided to fight against the regime.
The response by President Assad, a military man himself, was a disproportionately heavy one. tanks led by his brother Rifat rolled into Hama, flattening whole neighbourhoods, as this eyewitness told the BBC at the time.
لقد مررت بالشارع الرئيسي وكان الشارع الرئيسي.
I passed through the main street and it was full of rubble of buildings, and I passed by the well-known clock in Hama and found no trace of it. There was no trace left of the big mosque as I used to know it. I passed also by 3 other mosques which were in ruin and 2 churches that were destroyed. I saw whole neighborhoods that were turned into ruin.
Although figures are still disputed, the number of people subsequently killed there range from 10 to 25,000.
One day they came to our house, knocked on our door, and my brother answered the door. So they pulled him out immediately and started interrogating him. Where's your father? Where's your father? Pulled all the men outside. We could see them from our balcony, actually, from our house balcony. They lined them against the wall. The time was dark at that time, early evening. So they lined them against the wall and they pretended they were about to shoot them. It was a couple of hours later when my mum heard a round of live gunfire. I still remember vividly, she screamed, "They killed him, they killed him." So I came to her, "What's going on, Mum? What's going on, Mum?" And she hugged me to her chest and said, "Oh, my son, we've got Allah, we've got God now."
I still remember the building next to our building was attacked so heavily just to kill 5 men. Of course, the men were Muslim Brotherhood, and they fought back also, but they spent maybe 5-6 hours at least attacking them. And at the end, they decided to take one of our neighbors, the soldiers. They took this man and they put him in front of them in case if there's anybody still alive in that house, and start shooting, he will kill this innocent, civilian man instead of killing any soldier.
Were you aware at all that the scale of the number of deaths that had occurred there?
No. At that time, no. We knew that many families lost many members.
Things were escalating rapidly and my mum was really fearing for our lives. So she spoke to her brother Latikia to come and make an arrangement to, if you like, smuggle us out of the city.
Both boys and their families were helped to escape from Hama by people who were like the president, members of the minority Alawi sect.
I want to remember this positive part of the story. Who helped us was an Alawite officer, yes, definitely, for a reason, but we need to keep this in our mind.
My uncle managed, with the help of one of his Alawi friends, to arrange for a car to come and take us to the outskirts of Hama in the dark. 8 of us were, so we were all squeezed in the back of that car. As an Alawi, his movement was not as restricted as the Sunni people from inside Hama. So that's why at the checkpoint, when he speaks in his accent, they will let him go immediately, even without even checking the car. And that's how we escaped.
Although Hafiz al-Assad died in 2000, his son Bashar al-Assad's succession means that neither man has returned to Hama since they fled in 1982.